Welcome to this episode of Business and Politics Inside. We're here with Senator Kim Hammer. Senator Hammer, good to have you, sir.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it.
Glad you're here. Senator Hammer is running for Secretary of State, and I want to jump right in. Tell us what made you decide on Secretary of State. That's where you felt like be the best spot for you, sir.
Sure. I'm actually going to give you kind of a twofold answer. One answer will resonate with people, and it may not resonate with some, but it's the truth. I've served 16 years in the legislature. I've served 8 years in the House, 8 years in the Senate, and one of the things I have a reputation of is working on election bills over the course of time that I've been in the legislature. And one reason I'd like to move over to Secretary of State is just to be able to take that experience working in that area. Not that I'm the end all of know all, because nobody knows everything. You got to surround yourself with good people to keep it straight. But just like to take that experience over into the Secretary of State's office and continue to serve. The other thing, and this is what may resonate with some and may not resonate with others, I'd like to think and I believe that I'm not necessarily running for office. I'm really just running to find out what God's will is, because I believe God builds kingdoms up, He tears them down, He puts people in office, He removes them. Part of this is just a desire to find out hey, if this is God's will, that's great. If it's not, I got plenty of other stuff I'm doing in life. I'm just running to find out if it's God's will and the people's will.
Yes, sir. I believe that very much. That
Yeah.
none of us really have any of these things. They're just flowing through us, so they're not. It's not for us to decide. I
Yeah.
agree with you wholeheartedly.
Sure.
Wonderful. Um, yeah. So, for those of our listeners that aren't 100% aware of how things work, would you explain the role of the Secretary of State and how you view yourself in it and what you intend to bring to it?
Sure. With regards to what the Secretary of State is kind of a three prong approach, or it's like a three-legged stool, if you would. Okay. One of the legs is to oversee the elections and everything related to the elections. The Secretary of State is the primary overseer of all the elections and all things related with it. The second thing is with regards to the business sector. For example, you want to get LLC or you want to know if you're in good standing with the state. That is the second leg of the stool. And the third is just to oversee the properties that are under the jurisdiction of the Secretary of State, which would be the Capitol and all grounds around it. Some people think of the Capitol and the responsibility as just the building, which we've got a beautiful building. I mean, probably a lot of people have traveled to other states, seen other capitals. I just think we're at the top of the list, and I want to keep us at the top of the list. But um, in that particular area, not only do I want to maintain the condition, I want to see it also improved, specifically in the area of like access for public parking. That's been one of the champion cries that has been going on for a while since I've been in the legislature about accessibility to the building. But at the same time, given that we live in a society that's a little bit crazy and we got people out there doing crazy things, we also have to think about the security aspect of it. And so we have a fully licensed police force, and we want to make sure that they keep the property safe, and we want to make sure that people feel safe when they come through just having that present. And I'll be glad to if this is the time you want me to expound on what I'd like to do in each of those three
Yes,
areas.
sir.
Or
Absolutely.
okay. So, on elections, we are ranked by the Heritage Foundation. Some call that organization into question, but until somebody can prove differently, they are kind of the gold standard of rating states for election integrity, election security. And we've worked very hard over the years to get us to that number one status. Is there room for improvement? Yes. Are there things that have been revealed that would maybe call into question why did we get the number one ranking when like 1,200 individuals, that aren't even legal to vote were allowed to? Yes, it's like anything else. You can be the number one team in the nation, but you still have things to work on, and there's still things you need to improve on. But you keep that number one ranking because that's what everybody wants to be is number one. So I want to make sure we keep that status and widen the gap between being number one and whoever's number two. I don't care. Well, I want to be number one. In that area, I think we are going to have to continue to work with the legislature and the governor, because the reality is Secretary of State doesn't make the law, and they don't sign the law they don't sign it into an act, into a law. That's the governor's job. So working with the legislature to look at areas where historically there might be problems, such as the mail-in ballots or the absentee ballots, and just making sure that our systems that we are using are safe and secure, and maintain audits to make sure that there is that accountability factor. So I want to make sure to focus on those things in the election side. When it comes to the business sector, I own a for-profit business. I'm also the founder and board president of a 501(c)(3) nonprofit daycare center. We're faith-based, and so I see it from the nonprofit side, and I see it from the profit side. And one thing I think we should strive to be, and this is not a criticism, it's just a goal, is to make sure that the Secretary of State's office, when it comes to that business department, is number one in customer service. Taxpayers expect good customer service, and they deserve to get it. And so making sure that when it comes to response times to LLC turnarounds, getting your proper documentation for you to be able to do business in the Arkansas, your statement of good standing, or even taking a look at making sure that individuals, businesses are timely notified of franchise taxes that are due. Looking at the website, make it a little more user friendly. Those are things in the business sector that'll get my attention. And then I've already mentioned about the property. We want to take care of the property, make sure it's preserved and pristine and protected, and people feel safe when they come.
Yes, sir. We've got a beautiful capital down there, and I think they're 100% doing great. I would be curious how we expand parking down there. I'm sure you are looking at a number.
There are things being looked at. I don't think it'd be premature. Here's what I would say is we have heard the cry of the public of greater access to the building. Um, you know, there it will be a matter of just getting in there and doing a thorough assessment of what are our options, and then what's the price tag to those options. Because people want greater access to the building. That's great, but you also have to measure the cost of that, because people want stuff, but then they don't want to pay for stuff. It don't work that way. And so one of my goals will be is, and I've got some ideas, but until I get past the primary and I get past November, they're just my ideas for right now.
Yeah, we all want some things that we're not getting, so we have the money.
It's who you have the
Yes,
money
sir.
for. Yeah,
I
that's right.
understand. And as far as business, I know exactly what you mean. I feel like my CPA only let me know when my franchise tax is due after too late.
Yeah,
I don't know why that always happens.
yeah.
So hitting on the election integrity, and I am aware that we are number one. I would just love to hear you address. There's the people that are the paper ballot people. There's this group of Republicans that firmly believe paper ballot is the way, and there's a group number one in election integrity. Fix them. We're going to use computers. You, how would you address that? What I don't know works the best, and I don't know any of our readers. Dan.
Sure. And I appreciate the question because I get asked a lot whenever I'm out speaking, and I take it on, head on, because I think, whether you agree or disagree with me, you at least need to know where I stand so you're not blindsided, if you choose to vote for me, which I hope you do. Um, but when it comes to that particular issue, I always like to lead off with these two questions because I think it kind of sets the tone for the discussion. Number one, can anybody tell me when in the last 30 years an election has been stolen in the state of Arkansas? Most times the room goes silent. And the second question I ask is, so let's just say that somebody feels that their election has been stolen through our current system. When is there a time that it has been brought to the surface? And if it has been brought to the surface, when has it been validated that indeed that election was stolen? So if there's silence in the room on both of those questions, then I think we have to ask ourselves the question, well, then what's the problem? And what problem are we trying to fix that doesn't exist? And with regards to, and I do want to make this one thing clear. One of the transitions I'm going to have to struggle with, but I'll have to be very self-disciplined in it, is that after 16 years of serving in the legislature, I will not be a legislator. I will be the Secretary of State. I will have to comply with whatever the legislature passes in the way of legislation and the governor chooses to sign as an act into law. And whatever that is, including whatever comes down from the feds with regards to executive orders from the president, my job will be to administer that because I will have to comply with the law. So whatever's decided in those areas, that will be my response. That will be my responsibility. As a sitting legislator now who has been author of a lot of legislation with regards to election integrity and security, or co-author, I can say this, that the current system has a lot of safeguards built into it. In fact, I received a notification the other day because when you're on the ballot, they send you a notification from all the counties and say, this is the way your name appears. Please verify it. One of the things that was in that notification is we will be calibrating and testing the machines on such and such date, open to the public to come and to view. So that's all available to the public. So the public can go at any time they want to, whenever they get ready to test the machines on the front end. They run the sampling and then they accurately count it to make sure that it comes out the same. On the backside of that now, we are able, because of legislation that we passed, there are a large number of audits that occur, and those audits are unannounced. So when they say we're coming, a county doesn't have a choice in it. And we've actually increased the number of audits to determine that the machines that are being currently used, the systems that are currently being used, are actually producing what the people cast. And I really get down to the point that it's actually the responsibility of the individual voter. The machines are calibrated. They are tested before they are put into place. You go in, you touch the screen for what you want. It produces a paper ballot, much like you do when you go to Walmart. You look at the receipt and you match it against what it says on the shelf. And if that's what it matches, fine. But if not, you get the lady at the end of the row and she comes in and you say, "Hey, I've got a problem." Much like monitors do that are placed, poll watchers, and you say, "I've got a problem." Put in the tabulator. I passed legislation that said that tabulator can't be hooked up to the internet because that's one of the big theories out there is that, hey, it's something's going to happen. And then it is tabulated. And then the county, the local folks can choose to audit that if they want to. And we've had that happen. And so we have so many safeguards built into our current system that I think are what attributes to us having a safe election process versus versus trying to get a bunch of people in the room to count paper ballots when we know from history, regardless of whatever kind of paper ballots you're using, that there's so much that can go wrong with that system. So I believe that what we have is working, and if it wasn't, then we would have accuracy that in the state of Arkansas, elections have been stolen, or somebody that felt they had their election stolen from them would be raising Cain about it, and we would be hearing more, if at all, about it.
I doubt that not in day-to-day operation all of safeguard. I can tell you, name some that I was
Hmm. Yeah.
under.
And that's, if I may,
Yes, sir.
it's getting the message out there.
Right.
That's what it's a lot about, the messaging. And right now you hear the message of the other side. What I just shared is the message of the way it currently is. And I still go back to those two questions. If you can't name an election that was stolen in the last 30 years on the current system we have, why create a problem that doesn't exist? Some would say, well, we're trying to head off something that's going to happen. Well, all I can say is so far it hasn't. We seem to have safeguards in place. And the one thing we want quick. That's one thing people want. As an elected official, is what I want. I want timely results as far as getting those election results back. And the public wants that too.
Yes, sir. I believe that. And I believe that there's a lot more likelihood of a person, people we know that they are willing to do things to change the integrity of an election more so than maybe the machine would
Yeah.
have an ability to. I
Yeah.
think there's more risk involved with people and counting. Yeah. Um, you have a lot of experience. Tell me about maybe some of the best lessons that you've.
Best lessons I would learn, and I would say for anybody that's running for office, when you get in there, don't think you got a lot of time to get stuff done. There was things that I started 16 years ago that I finally got across the finish line this last session. So, what I would learn is or what I would share is, uh, take advantage of the valuable time that you've been given as a privilege to serve in office because it does pass quickly. I would also say your integrity, your word is your bond. Around the Capitol, you can burn through capital pretty quick. You can burn through your reputation pretty quick. So, I think protecting your reputation is important. That's what people expect, and that's what they deserve if they elected office.
Sure. Um, so tell me, it just define success, what it would like. You're elected and you serve within a year or two. What would it look like? Success.
I would say one thing. I'm going to inherit some things that the current Secretary of State, who can't serve because he was appointed by the governor, I'm going to inherit some things that I'll have to finish getting across the finish line. There's some things that I will start that will probably be long term that will not get done in the 8 years that I'm there, and then there'll be things that I'll get started that I will be able to finish. Provided I'm allowed a 2 year term. But I got to operate on the idea that I've only got 4 years because that's really all you've got is one election cycle to the other. I would define success as not under my watch having any election stolen, people having a level of confidence that when they vote, their vote is protected, secured, and that it counts. I think one area we've got to work on, and I didn't mention a while ago, we have got to get our voter participation off of the bottom in the basement and get it to the top. We are low in that area. And one thing I want to do is champion that cause around the state because I do think the Secretary of State's office has a huge platform to work within the state, appealing especially to our younger generation and emphasizing the importance of voting and creating an appetite for them to want to go out to vote. So that would put me present in the schools and the colleges, in front of any civic group that I can get in front of, because we've got to get our voter participation turned out. Now, when you do, it's going to fall the responsibility of either party to be better at messaging what they think is the better government for us to live under. That'll be left up to the parties of the candidates that are running, but we have got to get our voter turnout better because right now, I don't like being at the bottom of the list. I want to be at the top of the list. So success to me will be to see greater turnout when I leave the office than when I assume it, to make sure our election integrity stays, you know, up here, and also make it for the businesses that are here what the Secretary of State has authority over and jurisdiction over to make sure that we don't lose any businesses, but businesses that are looking at the state, I want to make sure that they see us as a state that's going to be efficient and business friendly. I have to stay in my lane as Secretary of State. I got to respect the fact that the governor and the administrative office branch is the lead on that, but I want to be able to complement whatever is being done in the administrative branch. Understand, I got to stay in my lane, but it is a big platform that needs to be utilized. So I'm gonna close that thought by just saying I'm gonna tell you what a older person told me one time when we were dealing with a situation and it involved a building because I'm in the ministry. I'm 47 years pastoring, and we were going through a construction project, or we were looking at going through a construction project, and we were having the debate as to whether to build or save the money, borrow, all that kind of stuff that you go through in churches. After about a 2 hour discussion, an old gentleman in the back of the church stood up and he said this. I've never forgotten. He said, "Leave the wood pile higher than you found it." And that's what I want to do. I just
Yes.
want to leave the wood pile higher than I found it when it comes to Secretary of State's office. Whatever that pile is, election integrity, making sure businesses are able to conduct business without a lot of hindrances, at the lowest cost possible, and making sure that when people come to the Capitol, they feel safe and they're proud to say, "This is my capital," and they feel good about coming to the Capitol.
Sure. Excellent. So finally, I think if you would tell voters you're uniquely qualified for this reason and why they should vote for you.
Well, I'm Kim Hammer, and I'm a state senator. I've served in the legislature 8 years in the House and 8 years in the Senate. I would like to declare I'm not a career politician because I pastor a growing church. Number one, number two, I oversee a growing 501c3 nonprofit daycare center, and I operate a small business. So I'm not a career politician. I'm just a person who likes to serve. And I'd like to continue to serve as your Secretary of State. And if you allow me to do so, I promise you that I will take care of the integrity of the Secretary of State's office and that I will always make sure that you, as a voter and as a citizen of Arkansas, can feel safe and secure about your election. If you're a business owner, I want to make it easier, not harder. You have enough red tape, you have enough hurdles. Some we control in the state, and some are passed down by the feds. I'll take care of business in my world of business that affects your business. And then finally, I just want you to come to the Capitol and participate in the process and feel safe when you do. I want you to bring your kids, your grandkids, and just enjoy what you as taxpayers are paying for that we need to preserve, to protect, and just want to make it a beautiful experience when you come to the Arkansas State Capitol.
Thanks, Senator Hammer. You've had a long, distinguished career, and privileged to sit down, have a few words with you, and
Thank you,
wish
Chris.
you a lot of luck.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
the
sir.
opportunity. Thank you.